Hey everybody, this is Tell the Truth Radio. I'm your host, Ron Fitch, and during this sports broadcast, we're going to break down the NCAA, NBA Finals, Major League Baseball, and everything in sports. We're going to tell the truth. We're going to tell the truth about the NBA. We're going to talk about LeBron and Michael Jordan. We're going to tell the truth because there's a lot of fake stories and fake news and pretty much clown shows that go on sometimes during the broadcast. And I wanted to start this show and do this program to tell the truth because I got sick and tired of watching pundits just spit out their own opinions and agendas. And it's not about that. It's about telling the truth. And the sports shows that tell the truth are the ones that are popular. The ones that I do like on YouTube, they tell the truth. And the ones I subscribe to. If you like my content, like and subscribe, press the subscribe button, press the like button. I have a Patreon account. You will welcome to contribute to that. It's a monthly account. The more I get, the more guests I could get, and the better sports show I can make it. And I'm planning to make it one of the best sports shows on YouTube. There's a lot of good ones. So I have my work cut out, but I like the challenge. And speaking of challenges, let's get to college football. SEC, which I love. I've grown the Big Ten. I've kind of got into a little more. I have a guy named Big Ten Gary. I'm going to bring him on as a guest. He's going to break down the Big Ten once it gets started. But right now, it's all about the SEC. I don't take the Pac-12 seriously, and I'll tell you why. Alabama and Missouri. Alabama beat Missouri last week. Alabama and Texas A&M getting it on in Tuscaloosa. This is an interesting matchup because Kellen Mond's a senior. He had a touchdown and 189 yards passing last week against Vanderbilt. They barely beat Vanderbilt 17-12. Going up against Mac Jones, who was efficient last week, 249 yards. Najee Harris, Jalen is a runner. Jalen Waddle, who's not just fast this year. Jalen Waddle is a better route runner this year. I like Alabama because I trust Alabama at home. They got a better defense. Kellen Mond is capable because he's a senior and he has running and passing talent. He's capable of just blowing this game up, playing well, and pulling off the upset. I don't trust him because he's missing throws. He's a senior and he's still missing basic throws. The guy's ability. So there's that unknown. You don't know if he's going to play well, but I don't trust him. I don't trust Texas A&M yet. And I like Alabama to beat Texas A&M for the 11th time. They're 10-2 all time. The one time they had they lost the first time they played in the SEC. Texas A&M beat Alabama with Johnny Manziel. And then Alabama has just beaten them ever since. Alabama's been a more physical team. Alabama's been able to run the ball. Alabama's been able to pass the ball. Alabama's been able to get pressure on the quarterback. I like the Crimson Tide at home in this game to beat Texas A&M. There's not a lot of great matchups. The other really great matchup is Georgia and Auburn. And who's going to be the quarterback of Georgia? Got JT Daniels, Carson Beck. Kirby Smart can't make up his mind. I think he's going to go to JT Daniels, who's hurt. He's a transfer that's coming in and from USC. What is he going to do? Because they look shabby. They beat Arkansas, but look kind of shabby. I don't like this Georgia team this year. I think they're going to lose. They're going to lose to Auburn. They're going to lose to Georgia. They're going to take a slight step back this year, I believe. Auburn is on the road, but Auburn's going to – and it's hard. Auburn and Georgia, when they play, usually the home team always wins. This time I like Auburn. I like Patrick Nix. I like the way he's playing. I like his weapons. Anthony Schwartz and Seth Williams. You got those dudes out there. They run the ball. Nix runs the ball. You know, Gus likes to run the ball and pass. Gus has opened the offense up a lot more this year. So they're a little more modern, and they're passing the ball a little more, which is going to really help Auburn. But Gus has still got his imprint as far as the run and pass options with Patrick Nix. I like Auburn. A little better defense. Auburn got lucky last week because Kentucky scored a touchdown. It was a clear touchdown at the end of the half that gave them the lead. They had momentum. They didn't call it a touchdown and ruined the whole game, and Auburn handled their business. I want to tell you something. It's usually the SEC West is usually about LSU and Alabama and Auburn. I like Mississippi State this year with Costello here, and then Mike Leach and his offense. I knew Mike Leach's air raid offense could work with SEC dudes, not with Big 12 defenses and their finesse type offense. With the dudes that he brings to the table, and he could recruit at Mississippi State, this air raid offense is going to be a problem. And I'm going to tell you something else. You go man up and just straight man like LSU did, you will get lit up for 600 yards. You just say, okay, our guys are better than your guys. We're going to line up. We're going to get after the quarterback. We're not going to play zone. We're not going to mix anything up. We're going to shut you down. That's not going to happen. I think a message was sent throughout the SEC that Mississippi State is here to play. And they've always had great pass rushers. So Mike Leach has an opportunity to really stamp himself as a really good coach. I think it's about Auburn, Mississippi State, and Alabama. Those are your three teams in the West. Whoever will come out of that, which is going to be very difficult, will represent the West and play Florida. I think Florida is slightly better than everybody in the East. I love Tennessee. Georgia's still good, but Florida's going to get them this year. Trask and Elijah Pitts. Is it Pitts? They're tight end. I know his last name is Pitts. I have to find out, but he is one of the best tight ends in the college football. So there you have as far as the college landscape. I do not like the Big 12. I mean, look at Texas. They were down 56-41, had to come back late to Texas Tech and win 63-56. I can't. When I see scores like that, I'm like, come on now. Seriously? We're not doing that. Did Oklahoma lose to Kansas State? Kansas State lost to a Division 1A team. Kansas State is okay, and they went to Oklahoma and won. So that tells you about the Big 12. I can't make a complete assessment over the overall college landscape yet until I see the Pac-12, until I see the Big 10. This is what I'm hoping. It's probably not going to happen this year, but I would like to see a 16 playoff. You have the Power 5 conferences, those are the 5, and then a wild card, whether it's an undefeated team like a Boise State or South Florida or somebody that's beaten a Power 5 team that has a good resume, or an extra Power 5 team, or maybe two. You can have 3 SEC teams or 2 Big Ten teams if one of the other Power 5 conferences has a weak year. If the Pac-12 is garbage, you eliminate them out of the equation, and maybe you add 2 Big Ten teams and 2 SEC teams. Just give me the best 6, regardless. Let the first 2 ranked teams get a bye, and then you have the 3 versus 6. 3 is at home. 4 versus 5. 4 is at home. Make the semis the bowl games like you usually do. Then have the finals. I think that's the best way. I would like to see that. That's more fairer. That gives the little guy a chance. The little guy doesn't always deserve a chance, but sometimes you'll have an undefeated South Florida. You want to see – you're curious to see if they can hang with the big boys. All right. Now let's get to the NBA Finals, and I got some points to make. The LA Lakers beat the Miami Heat 124-114. LeBron and AD were doing what LeBron and AD are supposed to do. They're bigger, they're faster, and they're a little better than Miami. Dragic is out. Bam is out. When I first previewed this series, I was like, wow, this is a nice little matchup. I think LA's a little bigger, but, Miami's going to be in there. Miami's going to fight. And Miami fought hard yesterday. They fought their hearts out to make it competitive. LA's too big. LeBron and AD's on a mission. They say LeBron's on a mission. Anthony Davis on a mission, too. Okay. LeBron had 33, 9, and 9 rebounds. AD had 32 points and 14 rebounds. And then playoff Rondo is a complete X factor that no one can deal with right now. 16 points, 10 rebounds, 16 points, 10 assists, 4 rebounds. Very, very impressed with playoff Rondo. And I love Kuzma. Kuzma's playing very smart. And then Caruso, his defense is fantastic. His hustle. And Dwight Howard is playing. Green hits shots. KCP plays great defense. The team, then your Frank Vogel and his staff is outstanding. How they broke through the zone, because zone gave the Celtics trouble. But what they did is LeBron was able to get in the middle of the zone and run his offense from the middle of the zone, whether it's passing to a cutting AD or kicking it out to a three-point shooter, where the three-point shooter will take the shot, or he'll kick it out to another wide-open three-point shot. They were always getting good possessions in the zone, but at times the zone gave him a little trouble because of the fact that Eric Spoelstra is daring LA to shoot. And if LA's not hot from the outside, Miami's getting the rebound. So now LA's not getting their shots, and they're not getting their transition because they're not making shots in the half court. And that's big. That's very, very, very big. But I think LeBron is playing at a high level. I like how he's playing. I will say this, and I watch a sports show, as it's entertaining. There are some issues I have with the show. When you're comparing Michael Jordan and LeBron James, to me, I still think, regardless of if LeBron wins his 4th title, which I'll be happy. It's my franchise's 17th championship, so I'll be happy. That's good. LA wins. I'm happy. You know, he stamps himself as a Laker, and he really has embraced the franchise. I do respect that. He really talks about the previous guys and how storied this franchise is. I do like that he has that sense of history. But Michael Jordan I've never seen anything like Michael Jordan. And as a guy, as a host of the show, that he likes, I won't say he loves LeBron James. It's a borderline obsession. And there's people that love LeBron James, but they're smart fans. But this guy is borderline. He goes over the top. And when The Last Dance was recorded and the show came on the air, a lot of the younger people saw Jordan like they never saw him. And they're like, wow, he really is the greatest. So LeBron lost that aspect. So the host has felt a certain way ever since that show is recorded. So he takes different shots at MJ, which is stupid. And you turn your program into a clown show, and you come off as a clown. And you're not a clown, because you make a lot of good points with other sports issues. But when it comes to Michael Jordan, he'll talk about LeBron, then he'll throw a Jordan insult, which is unnecessary. Okay, LeBron did this, but what about Jordan? And it's constant. Well, Jordan, you look what he did when he struggled with the bad boys and the Celtics. The Cleveland Cavaliers were going to get swept by the Celtics, and the bad boys would have swept the Cavaliers too. Stop with the nonsense. Number one. Number two, Michael Jordan won 6 championships in 8 years. So that's pretty much a blip on the screen, the struggles he had early. And LeBron had his struggles early, and then he started winning championships. So that's a blip on the screen for LeBron James, because he's winning. Okay, struggled his first 7 years, then he won. That's behind him. So you're crafting this argument, then you throw little points out there, then you're trying to throw shade. Then you do the dumbest and most irresponsible as a journalist thing you can do by saying Michael Jordan played a bunch of bums in the finals. That's idiocy. Now, LA was on this last leg when he beat him the first time. But you beat Clyde Drexler and Kersey and that team, which was very good. He's a Hall of Famer. Then you beat an all-time great in Charles Barkley and Kevin Johnson and Dan Marley and Ainge. That was a very good team. Then you beat an all-time great team in Utah. John Stockton could play in this era and could defend and could shoot threes and could pass. He could play perfectly fine in this era. And Carmelo, because Carmelo's a good shooter, he's a power forward. And they were very physical. So stop with the nonsense. And even the Seattle Supersonics were good. Even the Seattle Supersonics with Gary Payton, who's a Hall of Famer, and Sean Kemp, who would be even greater in this league, the way you could shoot and score. So you're minimizing his path as far as the finals. He was 6-time final MVP. He beat several Hall of Famers and all-time greats, and he never lost in the finals. And then there was the 2 years that he took off, basically. The 1 year he came back, but that was late in the season, and Orlando beat him, and then he turned around and swept the Magic afterwards. LeBron had an easier. Can you make an argument LeBron had tougher teams in the championship? Golden State, yeah, but then there's this nonsense about, well, it was 4-on-1 when he played. You had Kyrie Irving, and you could have made the series closer when you played Golden State, number one. Number two, that same Golden State team was down 17 to James Harden and CP3, who wasn't even playing. A hurt CP3, they were down 20, came back. Then they were down 17 on the road Game 7 and came back and won. So they weren't the greatest team to ever walk the face of the earth that beat the Cleveland team. But it was a good team. It was, and they were better. So I gave LeBron a pass on that. But it's not fair to minimize an accomplishment. Let's celebrate what Michael Jordan did. I could celebrate what LeBron did. I could celebrate what Kobe did. I could celebrate what Magic did. You don't have to tear down because you're jealous or you're feeling a certain way about a player. The reason why Michael Jordan, I consider him the greatest, his competitive greatness is bar none. If he was in this era, he'd be more of a passer and a shooter. He would figure it out. If you told Michael Jordan he had to get 39 assists and 0 points to win, he would do it. As much as good scores. He was obsessed with winning. It drove him crazy. No other athlete, LeBron, Kobe was close. Magic, those guys, none of them took that kind of winning to a crazy, insane level. To go along with his game, his offensive game is bar none. He was a great passer. He was an all-world defensive player that guarded multiple positions, too. So stop with the nonsense. But let's celebrate, because I said Michael Jordan's the greatest player of all, I can celebrate LeBron James because he'll win his, if they finish the job, he'll win his third title with his third team. It's a great accomplishment. And then I want to address this other nonsense about, well, he's doing, no other player did this at 35. It's easier to play longer with the game that's less physical. It's called physics. If Magic and Bird and Jordan and Dr. J and Gary Payton and the guys from the 90s all were allowed to play in a less physical, more shooting, a more offensive, they could play longer. That's just the way it is. So you judge them with their body of work when they played in that bubble of their greatness. And now we look at LeBron's bubble inside the years of his prime and his greatness. And he's able to play longer. And then he had an easier path to come out of the East. The Celtic teams, that was a very good accomplishment beating. But he had to beat Hibbert and Paul George twice. And then he had to beat the Atlanta Hawks. Then he had an easier path, but he did it. And he's in his 10th final, and I respect that. But he had an easier path to Jordan. And that's what that host never mentions. He doesn't mention you had to deal with Bird, you had to deal with Isaiah, you had to deal with Patrick Ewing, you had to deal with Reggie Miller, the Davis boys. You had to deal with the Knicks, with Pat Riley and Ewing, how tough they were. It's a lot you had to deal with. Dominique on the Hawks. Not this current Hawk team, the Dominique Hawks teams. You had to deal with those teams that were good. The East was loaded back then. So, and the Cleveland Cavaliers with Mark Price and Doherty and Ron Harper and those guys. I think the 90s players are offended by the way they just get thrown under the bus because they don't look as athletic. So they just say, oh, they weren't as great. They shoot it better. But you look at the competitive greatness, you look at if they played in this era now, would they be even better or would they be worse? You always look at that. So that was my rant because I had some issues with that host and he's constantly doing that. And it's not truthful radio. And it's unfair to do that because you pit LeBron fans versus Jordan fans. But I try to enjoy what LeBron James does over here and what Michael Jordan did over there, which was amazing. And no one's more clutch than Michael Jordan. Now let's get to Major League Baseball. Let me tell you something. The little things that get you beat. The little things that help you win by clutch hitting, solid relief pitching, guys that can deliver in the clutch, guys that can take you deep. That's feared in the lineup. Two stud starting pitchers and good, solid pitching. But little things that get you beat too. Like errors. You look at the errors that Minnesota, Gonzalez did versus Minnesota when they played the Houston Astros. And they pretty much lost game one. They lost the series. The Astros beat them in two. And look at the deciding game between the Cardinals and the Padres. And Tommy Edelman, they're only down one with the bases loaded. 1-0, seventh inning, winnable game. Ground ball to third. He doesn't step on third. So he misses the bag. He throws Wally at home. Everyone's safe. And then the Padres are able to get two more runs, and they end up winning 4-0. And it's the little things that get you beat in a short series. And going forward, with Atlanta playing the Marlins, the Dodgers playing the Padres, the Yankees playing Tampa, and the Astros are playing Oakland, it's a team that plays clean and makes the least mistakes win. Now, Atlanta advanced to play the Marlins. I like the Braves. And they're going to play in the National League Championship Series versus the winner of the Dodgers and the Padres. If I was the Dodgers, I would have been rooting for the Cardinals. The Padres are tough. Will Myers, Francisco Tatis Jr., who's a money player. They're not afraid of the moment. They love the moment. And you know, Machado is a monster as far as his ability. He's a moron. But he's very good, and he likes nothing more than to get revenge on the LA Dodgers. And the Dodgers got that great start. Buehler and Kershaw's healthy. Kershaw had 13 strikeouts, and he was unhittable. The curveballs, the fastballs, the sliders, he was mixing his pitches. He was locating. And Buehler is just got electrifying stuff. And then they got great relievers, Baez, Jansen versus Rosenthal at the end of the game. Rosenthal and Jansen are very good closers, but they do give up home runs. And that's going to be interesting to see. The one thing about the Dodgers, I'd like to see Max Muncy and Bellinger get going a little bit. Muncy's been bad. And Muncy's too good a player for that. He's been bad, and they need that. They're going to need all hands on deck. Mookie Betts, he's worth every penny the Dodgers sign, not just the hitting, his leadership. He gets hits. He tells the other hitters on the team what to look for, what the pitchers are throwing, what tendencies the pitchers have. He's a terrific leader. He is the reason the Dodgers will probably win the championship unless they run to the Yankees. Now I'm getting to the American League. You got the Astros versus the Oakland A's. The A's outlasted the White Sox. The Astros beat up on the lousy Twinkies. I'm not even going to call them the Twins no more, the Twinkies. The Twins have lost 18 straight. And Carlos Correa, and you know, I come after the Astros, and I'm going to, until they win a World Series without cheating, I'm going to be all over the Astros. This idiot comes on and says, hey, now what do we see what we proved now? We proved we can win a series. You beat the Twins. You beat the Minnesota Twins. My gosh, these athletes do not get it. But that's why I dislike the Astros. Go beat the A's, which they probably will. Then go beat the winner of Tampa and the Yankees. Then get to the World Series, and then maybe I'll give you some credit. But you don't get credit for beating the A's, who's a young team, or beating the Twins. And then you run your mouth. Win a World Series. Then you can talk. Then I'll shut up. Until then, you and your team, they're a bunch of cheating bums. You are a bum when you cheat with all these players that play their hearts out to win championships. And you compromise that, and you cut corners and cheat. Oh, I'm going to be all over the Astros. And if any Astro fans have a problem with that, you could direct message me if you got a problem. Okay, now I got that out of the way. Tampa and the Yankees. You got Glasgow, Morton. Those guys are a problem. Tampa is, and then they hit Cole for the Yankees. They got 20 runs off Cole in the games that they played against them. And Blake Snell. Man, Snell, Glasgow, and Charlie Morton. Man, that's a tough combination for the Yankees to deal with. And Tampa beat them 9-10. Tampa's doing a lot of talking. And then they got mad at Chapman through it with their players. But see, the problem with that, now the Tampa Bay coach, he's out there talking like a gangster. He's pretty much talking like a hood rat. He's like, oh, we got pitchers that throw 95 miles an hour, and we're going to throw at your head. Okay? We're going to throw it. We'll find out when we see the Yankees again. It's going to be a problem. Wow, okay. So you pretty much called the Yankees out, and the Yankees are here. They're here now with Judge and Stanton, who's playing pretty good, and Urshela and DJ LeMahieu. They're hitting a lot better. Can Cole and Tanaka hold off these very good contact hitting Tampa Bay Rays? They're here. The Yankees, you be careful what you wish for. I do like Tampa because they have a great closer in those three-headed monsters. I like their contact hitters. I like Tampa. I'm rooting for the Yankees. I want to be wrong. I want to see the Yankees and Dodgers play. I'm concerned about both series because the San Diego Padres are an excitable team. They are enthusiastic. They want nothing more than to beat the Dodgers. They don't like the Dodgers. San Diego and LA is a rivalry. I don't know if the people in LA and the people in San Diego like each other on the West Coast. So San Diego would like nothing more than to beat the Dodgers. Dodgers would love